Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about online marketplaces. Specifically, I've chosen three of the big guns: Etsy, eBay, and Amazon. And we're going to be talking about how these might be able to work for your business, whether or not you could use them as a suitable e-commerce platform, and maybe if your own website might be a better alternative to the marketplaces. Now, I'm Nicky Jurd, and I hope that today will be super interactive. So I would love it if you could pester me with questions. If you have a look at the bottom of your Zoom, there's two ways you can ask questions today. Number one, you can use the Q&A panel if you like. It's a very formal way of asking a question, and I can tick them off as we go to say that I've answered them. Or you could just put a message straight to me and other panelists in the chat window below. I don't mind which one you use. I'm really good at watching the chat and watching Q&A while I'm presenting. So I would love you to be open and interactive with me today and ask lots of questions. To get us started, I would love to know about your business. So if you would open up the chat panel below and maybe just tell me what's the name of your business and what industry you're in, because I would love to try and tailor this presentation towards you as we go on and further and learn more about these e-commerce marketplaces. So to get us started, I wanted to talk about marketplaces in general and why they might be great for you. I think if you're a small retailer starting out online, selling through an online marketplace might be a better model than hedging your bets on creating and maintaining and operating an e-commerce website. Now, I build websites for a living, so I definitely have a vested interest in you having a website, but I also think that online marketplaces are legitimately a great way to get started. So for one, you can set up your shop in a marketplace in a really quick time frame. Compared to creating a website, it is very, very fast to get started on the marketplaces. Now, they vary in levels of ease of use. So some are a bit easier and quicker to get started than others, but compared to establishing a brand new website, they are definitely much faster. Of the website categories, Shopify is known for being fairly quick, and I would say they're even faster than Shopify. Now, marketplaces have one massive advantage over your own website, and that is that they're a little bit like being inside a shopping center. They have their own traffic already, and by traffic, I mean in the millions, some of them in the billions. There are a lot of people who use the marketplaces, and they also come with their own sense of loyalty and trust as well. So I think that's one of the major reasons why you might consider an online marketplace, is there's just so many people already visiting them. I can see we've already got a few messages about the different types of businesses we've got here. So we've got an education business and glass beads selling homemade jewelry at markets and online. So yeah, thank you so much. Anybody else who's on, I would love to hear from you. Pop up the chat and tell me what's your business name and what do you sell? And I'll try to work with you to tailor this further. Thank you to all the new attendees who've just joined in. There's also some really cool things that some of the marketplaces do. So as an example, Amazon has this absolutely game-changing feature called Fulfillment by Amazon. And how it allows you to start selling in just about no time at all, while also allowing you to outsource your fulfillment. So Amazon stores your products and sends them out to customers. So you don't even have to warehouse your own items. It's really quite amazing. In general, marketplaces are a great option for buying and selling products that have some price competition. Customers can compare and choose from vendors really quickly and easily. And if that is your kind of product, you definitely have a lot to gain. I'm also wondering if you have any specific questions relating to these marketplaces. So as I go along, feel free to just pop a question in the chat and I'll double check in with you. We have Susan here today, who is a repeat offender at my webinar. So thank you so much for joining us again, Susan. She's from Iconic Clothes, and if you have a look in the chat, she's described her business really well. She does Zoom sessions and videos and has an online store for gift books and fine art and prints as well. So yeah, quite an interesting, diverse business. And Tanya, you've got a women's swimwear brand. That's amazing. There's not that many people who have their own swimwear brand. So yeah, awesome. and it's called Ocean Road Swimwear. So it's online only. So thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to kick off with Etsy first up. And I have to confess that I am an Etsy lover, but I think I am very typical of the type of customer who buys from Etsy. And that is, I'm often looking for unique, crafty kinds of things, and I absolutely love handmade products. So if that's also you, then you will also love Etsy. I would love to see who has used Etsy before, who has bought product from Etsy. It's a very popular marketplace, so over 200 million people. And I think of it as the kind of products that I might find at a weekend market. So somebody has set up a market stall and they've got all of their beautiful products on display, and mostly they've made them themselves. So that's how you can think of Etsy as well. It has really capitalized on the gift market. And in fact, Etsy themselves, they refer to them as selling handmade, vintage, custom-made, unique gifts. So in terms of the types of products that you might find there, definitely giftware. So to Ray selling glass beads, Etsy's definitely up your alley. I don't know so much about swimwear, Tanya, but it's definitely worth checking out because you've got your own unique brand. And to Susan, yeah, because of your fine art and the prints, there's a fair bit transacted in that space, not so much in education. So Etsy definitely would be worth considering for quite a lot of the people that we have online here today. In terms of what Etsy sells about, what they say about themselves, what they sell, is they are quite niche and specific. So handmade goods, and so these are things that you've made yourself, jewelry, clothing, accessories, those kinds of things. Vintage items, they have to be at least 20 years old. So we're definitely talking vintage. For example, you might sell maybe vintage art or collectibles, clothing. There's quite a lot of vintage jewelry in there as well. Heaps of vinyl records and definitely books. Quite a bit of scope to selling vintage items. I have a really good friend who absolutely loves vintage kitchenware, and so she looks on Etsy a lot for things to expand her collection. And then finally, craft things. So anything that someone might use to make a handmade item. Etsy describes these as tools, ingredients, or materials for the primary purpose in the creation of an item or a special occasion. So you can even find food ingredients on Etsy under the craft supplies banner. So it is quite a broad scope, I think. You see a lot of things related to jewelry making and beading kits, sewing, knitting supplies, and visual arts products. I think it is a very interesting platform because it's so niche and so popular. So clearly people around the world also love handmade items. You do hear of people who ask that all of their wedding gifts are purchased from sellers on eBay because it has that feeling that you're buying from an individual craftsman or craftswoman and you're supporting a small local kind of business. You can actually search for your locality, which is your country. So you can't get quite granular, but you can definitely search for what's here and save on shipping prices. But in terms of supporting a small business, there's definitely that feeling in there. Now, I'm going to just share my screen for a second and I'm going to jump on into Etsy so we can have a quick look at it. So hold on just a moment. Here we go. So this is Etsy's front page and you can see straight up they push the support independent sellers thing and that you'll find things that you love. They have a big thing around secure shopping. And in fact, one of my friends who sells on Etsy, she says that they're required to maintain quite a high quality of customer service. Otherwise, they're removed off Etsy. So this is something that you will see is quite different compared to perhaps your experiences on eBay, where you will find the odd dodgy seller or things won't turn up. Etsy has done a really good job in working with its sellers to make sure that things are great. Now you can see here that I have been looking for laptop sleeves. It's something that I've been wanting to buy for a while and I really love the handmade option. So I'm going to search for that so we can have a little peek and compare this same thing across all three of the platforms. So I'm going to look for a laptop sleeve. So when you have a look at the results, you can see that you can quickly compare. It's very photo driven and the photos tend to be fairly high quality. Unlike the other two platforms, so eBay and Amazon, their photos tend to be quite clinical and very e-commerce kind of focused. You see white backgrounds or the backgrounds taken out, more like this kind of a product. Whereas you see across the board with Etsy, it's very personalized. So you see keyboards in the background, people's hands, different products that are companion products. So here you can see headphones poking out. This one you can see pens. And so that's putting the product into the kind of space where you might use it, where you might see it in your own natural environment. Or as I like to say, what does this product look like out in the wild when it's being used by people? Now, if we jump in and have a look at one of these products, let's have a look at this fluffy embroidered pink product. You'll see that the product descriptions are a bit weird. See how long they are? Personalized embroidery, pink laptop case, 13-inch, 15-inch, pink MacBook Air sleeve, MacBook Pro, 13-inch case, all laptop size. That is massive. And anybody who is from the world of SEO will know what they're doing there is they're putting keywords into their product name. And in Etsy, it makes a big difference for you to have keywords in the product name to appear for searches inside Etsy. So that's a little tip if you are planning to sell on Etsy. Don't be lean with your product names. You can really go to town and put a lot of detail in them. In terms of how the site is laid out, you can see that there's a lot of focus on the photos. And in general, you do tend to find that Etsy sellers have a lot of photos. And you see here, this is quite a lot of photos of exactly the same product, just displayed slightly differently. So you can see the personalization and what it looks like with different people. If I pop back in here for a second and we have a look at a different product where they sell multiple colors, you'll see that they approach this differently as well, in that you tend to see photos with all of the options displayed in a single photo. And if you have a look down the left-hand side here at all the different photos, you'll see that they have a good point of comparison between them photographically. And they also, every seller does this, is they put the product in context with how you might use it. So it's photographed with, in this case, the laptop that's going to sit inside it and other accessories that you might be using on your desk. And they do this with all of the color options. So a big tip for Etsy selling is to get really granular with your photography. And I find across e-commerce websites, this is the one thing that really lets online shopping down, is because I can't touch it and feel it. I need the photography to be able to support that tactile, the idea of what is this going to look like in my hand? How's it going to feel for my product? And so the photos really should try to answer that tactile question of the equivalent of someone picking it up and having a look at it in store. Now, if we scroll down a little bit, we'll have a look at the other emphasis of Etsy. I'm quite surprised that over here on the right-hand side, there's a little tiny thing which you then can expand out, is the product description. It doesn't really give the product description a lot of screen space or screen real estate. And it means it's this skinny little thing down the right-hand side, and it's a little bit tricky to read. On the left-hand side though, can you see how massive those review spaces are? Etsy encourages every purchaser to write a review and also to leave photos of the product that has arrived for them. And so you see here against every now and then you'll see a product and people have said, you know, what the packaging's like. This is actually a photo of the packaging and how much they appreciate it. And down the bottom, you see photos from the reviews. So Etsy's collected not just for this product, but actually from the reviews for this seller. And they've popped them down here, which is pretty much like a customer testimonial, You see actually the products that people receive rather than just the generic products. And so I think this is why Etsy has a lot of trust and a lot of honesty around its sales, is that it shows you a lot of detail about the product in a way that you don't typically see on other sites. I would love to know if anybody has purchased from Etsy and what their experiences have been like. So please pop down in the chat below what your experiences with Etsy have been. Have you loved it? Have you hated it? I will say that I've bought a lot of handmade leather products, particularly from Germany. They're really well known for making leather goods, and I seek out the German people to see what they're creating, because they generally have great stuff with really beautiful attention to detail. Mark said that his products are custom made with a really high price point. It is furniture too infrequent and higher price product for someone to buy online. You think they need to touch it and feel it, or maybe they could do high quality desk accessories, which might be a good fit to go with the core business. So it's an amazing question, Mark. And I think the answer is, in a really thorough search, is jump onto Etsy and let's see if there's any furniture on there. Mark, can you tell us what kind of furniture you sell? And I'll jump on there and have a little peek around. I will say there are some large-scale furniture stores who've had a really good crack at selling furniture online. So Matt Blatt comes to mind. Unfortunately, I just read that he's not doing too well at the moment, and the company is looking for a new owner. But their website is actually fantastic for selling furniture, and I've bought a couple of things for our office from there. I'm waiting for them to arrive though, so I can't tell you if they look exactly like how they look in the photos. One thing I would say from the furniture perspective is you are going to need to photograph that product contextually, you know, that out in the wild kind of photo. So if you're selling a lounge suite, you're going to have to photograph that with, you know, a lampshade, a coffee table, and some side kind of wear, so people can understand, you know, how it fits into their home. So you do custom-made cabinetry, specializing in desks. So what I'm going to just do, I'm going to pop into Etsy and I'm going to see if that large scale kind of product is for sale. And I'll share my screen and we'll have a little look. So hold on just a second. I think most online shops, so especially the likes of eBay and Amazon, when we think about buying from them, we think about a low-cost product, not necessarily a high-end custom-made kind of product. And I think that's where Etsy really comes into its own. Because if I search here for desks, straight out the bat, you can see there's obviously some desk accessories, but if we have a look, there is actual desks being sold there. And that one in particular comes with a fairly high price. So I think you definitely could have a crack at selling on Etsy. It's probably the right spot for the job. There's you have a really big hump to get over, and that is how much it costs to send it to somebody. So if you can get over that hump, and that shipping might be quite expensive, then I think you could do quite well online, especially because there are so few people who are in that space. And right now, nobody can really get out and shop and compare because of COVID, but there's definitely people who need desks. I need 4 more for my office, in fact, because I've employed some new people. So I think online shopping for large, bulky items is going to be the next boom space over the next 5 years, and you should definitely get in early and have that experience behind you so you know what works and what doesn't. G says she's never used Etsy before, so that's on everyone's homework for this week, is to jump on Etsy. And maybe you've got a present that you need to buy for somebody's birthday coming up. That's the best kind of thing to search for in the Etsy space, is a present for someone else. And of course, you can get it sent to them directly through Etsy as well. So you could try just posting it straight off and knowing that it will come arriving in fairly nice packaging, and you can leave little notes for them as well. So let's talk about the money side for a second. So what does Etsy cost to sell? I'm going to pop in the chat to everybody a link so that you can see the same kind of data that I can see, and you can refer to this later if you like. So that is, how much does it cost to sell on Etsy? They say of everyone, Etsy has the easiest pricing to understand. I don't know that that's necessarily true. They're all a little bit tricky. I've sent you to specifically the Etsy pricing for Australia, and they do charge in US dollars. So that is something that you need to know about Etsy in particular, is that they charge a 20-cent listing fee, but that 20 cents is US dollars. And at the moment, it's about 28 to 30 cents Australian dollars. So you'll always have that little hump to get over. They also charge a 5% transaction fee. And so that is the commission based on what is the cost of the product and a 25-cent processing fee. So transaction fees, we're pretty used to them in the world of e-commerce. You have a merchant fee when you take a credit. All right, how are we now? Everyone hear me okay now? Yep, awesome. Thanks so much. The benefits of having multiple microphones plugged into Zoom is that sometimes microphones can fail. So thanks everyone for giving me that feedback. What I covered when the sound wasn't working was that the Etsy prices are fairly easy to understand and not that particularly onerous as well. So if you have a look at that link that I sent you through, you can have a look at those prices. In terms of Etsy overall, just to summarize, Etsy is really easy to use. It recently won a vote where it was the easiest online marketplace to use, and over 12,000 sellers across all of the different platforms voted in that. So I think that's a really good testament to say, yep, it's pretty easy to set up. If you're not that tech savvy, then I think Etsy is a great way to start for you. It's got super, unlike Etsy, unlike eBay and Amazon, it also uses this fixed pricing model. So that makes it also cheaper to keep track of overheads compared to those other ones. And apparently it ends up to be a little bit cheaper than the other platforms also. But I find it still, they're all a little bit complicated. Now, people who come to Etsy know what to expect. So you don't have to make an effort to stand out in a sea of products. If your products are largely targeted at ladies and are giftware, then Etsy is definitely a great marketplace for you to trial. It's also heaps cheaper than Amazon's fulfillment by Amazon. So, if you are taking care of your own warehousing, then you don't have to pay that overhead. Now, the disadvantages is the goods are very niche. So even though that's an advantage and people know what to expect, maybe you sell something that just isn't suited to Etsy, and so it won't go very far. It doesn't cater that well to building a large-scale online business either. It really is a small niche kind of a thing. Best think of it as somebody who's selling a product at a market. And those businesses don't tend to be large scale and scalable. It also has really heavy competition. And so whatever you search for, you saw when I searched for laptop sleeves, I don't know if you saw how many came up, but it was 34,000. So that is a very large quantity of other people who are making laptop sleeves. Some shops look like identical twins of themselves because people have gotten into a certain way of making things. So from that perspective, I think it's really interesting that whatever you sell, you really have to try to stand out with great photos, and perhaps have a search first to see if your product is unique enough. Also, something different is that there's just no customization, which is quite different to the eBay space. So when you look at products on Etsy, looking at one product is almost identical to looking at another product. The way the photos are, the way the page is laid out, all of that is identical. So building a brand is tricky. So is it worth selling on Etsy? I think you should research the market. Have a look at what's out there and how to price your product. So you'll see that the pricing is quite variable. And you do need to invest in taking really high quality photos. A picture is worth 1,000 words, as they say, but it is really essential to take your product from multiple angles and put it in context as well as out of context, and photographing the full range of options in terms of colors, so people can see what it looks like in a realistic photo. And for most of the product, most of the time you'll probably have to market and promote your shop. So get out there and build your brand on other social channels. Now, Etsy does have a great seller's handbook. So it goes into a lot of detail and is super helpful. Even if you're not going to sell on Etsy, I'll pop it in the chat below and you can have a look at that handbook. And I think it's really a great resource just for selling online. So we have a couple of questions here. Do we have to pay on Etsy if our product isn't sold? And do we have a listing fee of items? So yes, first of all, Tanya, there is a listing fee. That was that 20 cents US or 28 to 30 cents Australian. So that's the listing fee. And so that's what you have to pay if the product isn't sold. The other fees you don't have to pay. So those other bunch of transaction-based fees. So if you have a look at that product that I sent through, the product pricing, you'll be able to see those fees as well. Now, do we have any other questions about Etsy before we move on to our next offender, which is eBay? If you have a question, pop it down below. I think there's a couple of questions you should probably ask yourself if you're going to go on Etsy. So things like, do you sell handmade products? Do your products kind of change over time, or do they still stay on the shelf for a long time? Do you have resources to be able to upload all of those product information individually and manually, because there's no easy automated tools for Etsy? Do you eventually have plans to build your own web store, or and are you okay with maybe foregoing some high sales just due to the high competition? I think those are the kinds of questions you need to ask yourself, and if the answer is yes, then jump onto Etsy and definitely give it a crack. It's not that expensive to try Etsy after all. So what geographic regions does Etsy's customers mostly come from? And the answer to that is all over. Australia actually has a really big penetration in Etsy, as does North America, but it has really good global reach. So no issues there with where in the world you might want to sell, which is an interesting question. Where in the world do you want to sell? I'd love you to pop your answer down below. All right, let's move on to eBay now. So those of you who have bought things online before, you will probably be very familiar with eBay. It's been with us since 1995, and it also has an unbelievable quantity of traffic. So 1.2 billion people go on eBay every month. So that's many countries aren't that big. So it really does take a large quantity of our online traffic. I see I've got another question about Etsy and its geographic regions and how many languages that they support. I'm not sure about the languages actually, so I will research that and come back to you. So back to eBay. Once upon a time, eBay was all about the online auction and fulfilled the job of selling things a bit like how we'd sell them at a garage sale. So you take something that you had used before, you didn't want anymore, and they promoted themselves as you making a bit of a side hustle, a bit of extra cash out of selling your old things on eBay. Now, it's definitely shifted focus since then, and you can still sell those things, but eBay says that 90% of the products that are now transacted on its platform are brand new. So 90% is definitely a big shift. We've seen secondhand product now shift over to Gumtree, which is also owned by eBay here in Australia. Quite a lot of the secondhand stuff is also transacted across Facebook Marketplace, And in the US, you still have a really big space for this on Craigslist. So eBay isn't really so much the space where you would sell your old stuff anymore. But that said, especially in the world of collectibles, there's still a lot of that traffic. So if you are selling things that are highly desirable, then you could definitely have a go at doing that across the eBay network. I think eBay has this big disadvantage that we've developed some trust issues with it over the years, that everyone knows someone who has been scammed by an eBay seller. And so as a result, we are extra careful with what we buy from there. And that's really something that eBay will have to fight forever. So how you can sell products now is by three ways. Is you can use that traditional auction model. And I think there's nothing quite like that emotional joy of two bidders fighting it out for your product. I think that's a really fantastic feeling as a seller, and seeing the price go up and up and up, and you're getting quite a windfall for one of your products. I don't think that tends to happen for brand new products so much, but definitely in the world of collectibles, that still happens. If you have a new product which is out of stock, I have seen those auctions go crazy for really highly desirable, limited editions, fully sold out things. So new products still can attract that same kind of bidding war, and the old auction sniping that we used to see, it definitely can still attract that. You can also sell by a fixed price. So eBay refers to this as buy it now. So fixed price, or you can do a combination of this with an auction and what's called a best offer. So somebody can say, you might have listed it with a reserve price, and someone comes along and says, I'll pay $45 for that, and you're happy to take $45, so you can accept a best offer. So the auction can still be running, and then the best offer is also running at the same time. So there's quite a bit of scope to how it works. And in Australia, our eBay fees are a little bit different to other places. So in the chat, I'm just going to pop in where you can find the relevant information for selling on eBay in Australia. I will say it's crazy complicated, and it depends a little bit on what category you're going to be selling in. It's definitely a little bit all over the place. So I've crunched some numbers to give you a bit of an example. Is let's say you've got a coffee machine that you want to sell, and you list it on eBay for $500. So this includes shipping costs. And you're here in Australia, but your buyer is in the US. So that is just some extra complication that anyone in the world can buy your product. So you will have some extra fees related to that. And so with eBay, they have a couple of different packages you can be on. And for this example, I've just presumed that you're on the basic store package. And so it details it in that document I've sent it through. But just to give you an overview of how that works, is the basic package, you can sell 40 items for free. And after 40, you have what's called an insertion fee. And both of them have final value fees as well. So I've included for this example that you would be on the basic store package. So you have a 50-cent insertion fee. The final value fee is $30. So that's 6% of the sale price, including shipping. You have a PayPal transaction fee, which is 3.6% of the sale price. So that's $18.30. And so that means for your $500 coffee machine, your total is $48.80, which is loosely 10% of the transaction. So they are hopelessly complicated. There's an eBay fee calculator, and I think you should use it. But it does go to show that unless you have a pretty good margin on your eBay product, then it's going to be really easy to lose money off eBay. So especially if you're in the world of flipping products, so you buy something secondhand, maybe off Gumtree, and then you resell it on eBay, which is amazingly popular to do. People who especially know their industry or a particular product line, they'll buy them cheap locally where people don't want to have to worry about shipping, and then they'll resell them up on eBay and take care of all the shipping costs. So there is definitely a lot of scope for the different things you can do inside eBay, but you do need to be careful because those fees, I feel, run out of control really quickly. So let's talk about the pros. eBay, like Etsy, is still pretty easy for sellers to get their listings on. If you're new to selling online, you should have no problem with setting up. eBay, I think, yeah, it's a pretty easy platform, just not quite as user-friendly as how Etsy works. One of the big advantages of eBay's auction format is if you're unsure of what your item's value is, you can simply list it as a price you think it's worth and just monitor the attention it gets. So ultimately, it'll sell at the price that buyers want to pay. And so it's really good for experimenting, especially if they're your own products, to see what people are willing to pay for it. And sometimes you might get more than what you expected. So that's pretty awesome, I think. Also, if you log into eBay, you can search for items that have sold and see what price they've sold at. So if you have something in your garage that maybe is new, but you do want to sell it, or maybe you've got some stock that isn't moving particularly fast and you want to give it a crack on eBay, you definitely can do that and see how much it goes for online and see if it's worth you doing the sale through there. eBay also has fantastic integration with PayPal. It is owned by them after all. eBay bought PayPal quite a long time ago now and really dramatically improved the trust that went along with PayPal transactions. Lots of people are funny about giving their credit card to you online, but they're okay about paying by PayPal. Where we see e-commerce websites especially that split their payments between credit card and PayPal, they almost always run at 50%. So half of people like to pay on PayPal and the other half are happy to give you their credit card. And so the PayPal integration means that you can accept payments really easily and in real time. And you as a seller have protection, which is also an added advantage. The buyers have protection as well. So yeah, PayPal does a really good job of trying to make that online payments process really easy, and eBay has definitely greased the wheels with PayPal to make sure it works really well. I think also eBay's reach is genuinely a strong global reach. It has a portfolio of customers from all over the world, and people really like searching on eBay and having a look and trying to get a good deal. So you instantly have access to a really large number of people all around the globe. So that's really the massive advantage, is the shopping center effect, is you are on a really big competition kind of space. Now, in terms of disadvantages, that competition is everyone and its dog is selling something on eBay. So there is a lot of stuff that is transacted, and chances are you probably are going to be selling your product at maybe a discounted price or a little bit cheaper than what it might appear for retail, which some people don't mind if they're clearing stock. But if you wanted to sell at a premium, maybe eBay is not necessarily the best choice for you. Also, if you decide that you don't want to sell something anymore and you've had it listed on eBay, it'll still cost you. So they have removal fees. I think on top of eBay's regular fees, you have to pay a removal fee to unlist the item. So that's definitely a big disadvantage. You have to be kind of sure about putting it up, otherwise it's going to cost you money. Also, the variability of those fees is a real pain to keep track of. So you definitely want to dig deep into those fees to see, for your category, what are you going to be paying? eBay sellers report that they have big issues with non-paying customers. It's a very real problem on eBay. So you might think you've got the sale and you've made the sale, but you actually don't end up making money or shipping the product out because the person's just not paid. They've changed their mind. And there's also this policy of eBay's, which is also a double-edged sword kind of a problem, is that eBay has a 180-day return policy. So that's something that none of the other marketplaces have. And sellers do like this feature because it gives buyers confidence, but keeping track of your products over a quarter of the year can be a really painful experience. So that's something to think about as well. I would just want to jump into eBay for a second, and I'm going to do that same search that I mentioned before. We're going to have a look at laptop sleeves, and we're going to see what pops up. So hold on just a second. Just thinking about it. Nope, Zoom's having a moment. Just checking in the chat, is everyone still with me? Howdy folks, back again. There's some oddity going on in the world of Zoom today. I hope you're all still with me. So I was just sharing my screen to have a little walk around eBay, and that's what crashed Zoom. So I'm not going to share that now. I want you to, in your own time, to jump on in and have a search of eBay. And if you haven't bought anything from there for a really long time, then I think this is a really good time to double check with eBay and see what's changed since you were last on there. All right, on we go. So last up is Amazon. And Amazon is the biggest of all of the platforms that we've talked about so far. It is over 2.5 billion people who visit there every month, to buy things. So it's really the biggest by a very long way in terms of supermarkets. So it's really good for people who have a lot of their own product. So if you have the capability or the scalability to sell, say, 100 units a day, you can definitely do that inside Amazon. It's really not the space for secondhand product. So even though it does have a marketplace to do secondhand goods, it's definitely not the right spot for it. And even if you do sell secondhand things, they have to be in extremely good condition. Now, Amazon has this amazing trust. So it's where people really search for to buy brand new things. And for that reason, it's a really good space if you want to do an experiment. So if you have a lot of product and you have scalable product, it's definitely a good experimental space for you. Amazon has kind of become synonymous with people searching for a product. You know, it's to check on Amazon. It's a buyer's first instinct when they're going to look for a purchase, especially in the US. And so there is an immense trust in Amazon as a brand. And certainly if you're looking for super visibility, it's the perfect platform. Amazon has nearly twice the visitors of all of the other spaces. So yeah, in terms of large numbers of traffic, it's definitely your guy. Now, there's lots of disadvantages to being on Amazon. And first and foremost is the high seller fees. On the basic plan, you can put 50 items up a month at $1 per item, and then you have additional selling fees. After those 50 items, you pay $50 a month, and then there's also the additional seller fees after that. I'm going to pop in the chat down below so everyone can have a look and see the pricing directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And I've also put the pricing there that is for Amazon Australia. So Amazon has a global marketplace, but it also has localized marketplaces all over. And so chances are you'll probably want to list on Amazon Australia. And so that's what those fees are for. There are other fees related to Amazon US, but these are the ones that I think are best for you to have a look at to start off. Now, there is this really bizarre thing with Amazon is, let's say you do really, really well and your product is quite popular on Amazon. You might end up competing with Amazon directly and then face some stiff competition if your products start to sell really well. And that's because Amazon will stock anything that it deems popular enough. And so if they stock your product, you could be facing serious undercutting by a company whose pockets are just so deep. So yeah, if Amazon chooses to sell your product through its own network, you have virtually nowhere else to turn. And in a price war between sellers and Amazon, sellers pretty much always lose. So this has happened in the past, and it's definitely a conflict of interest which doesn't exist in either Etsy or eBay, because in both of those cases, they don't sell product. But in Amazon, you are a seller in addition to many other sellers and Amazon directly as well. So it's I think that that's a bit of a worry, but perhaps the high volume of sales means that you could try to do your best anyway and perhaps use it to build your own brand and to get the word out there about your products. Amazon's definitely the right choice where you have a unique product or you have your own brand of product, because it really levels the playing field among those other brands. If you want to build your own seller profile though, it can be really tricky. I think eBay and Etsy also have this problem, but both of those platforms have options to build on your seller page, which makes them more appealing. But in Amazon's case, every product is displayed identically, and the sellers really are dampened down. They don't get a lot of prominence. In Amazon, it's all about the product, not about you as a seller. And in a similar way, you don't get any direct interaction with buyers either. So it doesn't give you a buyer database. Your customers today will forever continue to buy on Amazon, whether it's from you or from a different seller. So you don't really get that strong relationship building that you get from the other two platforms if you wanted to go down that avenue. Especially in the world of Etsy, it's a really strong relationship built kind of a platform, and people are known to go back to the same seller and buy more products. With eBay, that does happen, but not so often. With Amazon, it doesn't happen at all. You also have quite poor visibility when several sellers can sell products with the same number. You're just one of those other sellers who compete on price. So some of those might have better ratings. Amazon does, of course, have that amazing fulfillment. So if you have a lot of products and you need to sell or move a lot of product, then that fulfillment can be a really amazing service to use. So right now it's time for questions. So do you have a question related to any of the three platforms that we could cover? Please pop down in the chat and let me know what is your question so that we can maybe go through it and have a chat about whatever it is you would like to chat about. What have you got? We don't have any questions today. So with that, we might end early. I will say though that you do have the option of selling on all three platforms, but chances are your product probably wouldn't work that well for all three platforms. There is some software out there that can split your product and stick it across all of the three platforms. So it might be a great option for you. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you again at a future webinar. Bye for now.